Welcome to the Igniting the CEO Within podcast, where we interview successful high-level professionals to discover lessons they've learned throughout their career that can help ignite that CEO within you. I'm Mark McFatridge, and I'll be your host for the next 15 minutes or so. Our show is sponsored by Quade, a nationwide community of CEOs and entrepreneurs. Quade has developed Launchpad, which offers an opportunity for experienced executive coaches to become licensed circle directors. After completing the Launchpad program, you'll lead your own peer advisory circles, helping CEOs and entrepreneurs excel in their professional and personal lives while providing a community of support, accountability, and challenge. If you'd like to learn more, go to quadecircle.com. I am super pumped to get to hang out with April Bain of the Grit Group out of Cleveland, Ohio. She founded this group and is a strategic business coach. April, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, really excited. So, I'm just going to jump right into it. You have had a really interesting career. You've got to work with all kinds of people, and you have some insights on what makes a great leader. What type of traits stand out that help you identify who is a great leader? What are those?
Yeah. So we chatted a little bit before. So there's this balance between like coachable and humble enough to know that they don't have all the answers. So like kind of go out there and seek responses, whether that is from a coach, a video recording of them doing something, the internet, their customers, but they're out there seeking feedback or like bouncing ideas or looking for disconfirming evidence. And then that balanced with the ability to make a decision when a decision needs to be made. So somewhere in that like bias to action or confidence that like we're gonna pick a direction and we're gonna keep listening to that feedback. And if we have to iterate and change, but it's just this interplay between confidence and humility.
I like that a lot, and I'm gonna tie the two of them together here in a minute. So the coachability piece is really good, and then you touched on the vulnerability. Sometimes when you hit that CEO seat or the entrepreneur or the business owner, whatever, it's hard to have that vulnerability and to be coachable. Talk about that, and how do you allow that to happen? How do you allow that to happen?
Like, how does the CEO allow like
Yes,
themselves to get in that
that's right.
position?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like everybody's staring at you. I mean, and then imagine our business owners that have personal guarantees, right? And
Hmm.
then they're going home with all of those sets of eyes staring at them. And then, they have the people that have joined their teams, and sometimes people look at it as they just join a work team, and then there's other times that you hire people under the precipice of like, we're going to grow and we're going to scale, like come join up with me, and they know that they're taking a step down or maybe in pay or prestige or whatever.
Hmm.
It just is a lot on these business owners' shoulders and on their backs. And I'm thinking of one specific client. He legitimately could do every single job at his business. And he acquired the business. He was not the
Yeah,
founder. He acquired the business. And I believe he could absolutely do every single job, potentially better than some of the people that have been in the seats for decades.
sure.
Um, and yeah, they're just, I think that how do they get themselves there is, if I'm going to ask people to do something, or if I have all these eyes staring at me, I have to have everything completely buttoned up before I can ask others or have expectations of others. And I think that's kind of how they get themselves in that predicament.
Yeah, it almost flies in the face of being vulnerable, though, right?
Well, and it directly flies in the face, right?
Yeah.
Because
So
they're actually solving for gaps or vulnerabilities.
yeah, yeah. I was thinking more along the lines of a CEO being coachable to be a great leader, and to do that you have to show vulnerability,
Hmm.
but yet you feel all these eyes on you and the expectations that you've got to be excellent, you've got to make the right decision, you have to have a bias for action, all this kind of stuff. That's hard, right?
Well, and Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I mean, right. Which is why I think they need a coach, right? And then they need to
Yeah.
like be coachable in there. And so I'm a big believer in how you do one thing is how you do everything.
Right.
And if, you're waking up in the middle of the night trying to fill in gaps of vulnerability of your business or your supply chain or whatever piece of it is, and then on your way into work at a stoplight, you're doing a meditation on how you're going to be vulnerable about your feelings or your frustrations with this difficult conversation that you're about to have. It's tough. It's tough to, I mean, you're not vulnerable here and you are here. And I think the argument is you have to find ways to get comfortable being vulnerable and exposed, right? I mean, that's what vulnerability is. It's
Right.
this level of exposure, um, emotionally. And I mean, I would imagine the other one is intellectually.
So how do you do that though? I mean, that sounds great. It's just it's such, I say it all the time, like to sit in the CEO seat, to be an entrepreneur, to own your own business is like if somebody were to read the job description, they'd be like, why would
And
anybody?
the only worst job description is motherhood,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. That's
that's
exactly
the
right.
only other one you don't want anything to do with, or
Right.
parenthood.
Yeah.
Um,
So why the hell do people do it? Like, I mean, I know because I've done it, but like you look at it from afar and it's like, this is stupid. Why would anybody put themselves through this?
well, because it feels good, right? It feels good when you bet on yourself, and it works, right? When you bet on yourself, and then you trust and then you trust that your actions and your habits and your disciplines are going to create the results that you want, either in the endeavor that you're currently doing, the customer segment you're currently doing, the product that you're currently doing. Like you have to have the trust that even if any of those pieces fail, the efforts and the energy that you're putting in will eventually result in the um, result that you want.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
you, yeah, you asked something else about, what do you do to elicit the confidence while you also are trying to get comfortable with the vulnerability? And I mean, for a plug for what I do,
Yeah.
implementing business operating systems is there's some parts of running a business that people have done before, that there are business thought leaders that have come before you and they can take the guesswork out of certain pieces of it. And that is like explicitly what I try to help CEOs and business owners do because of what you're talking about. Like all the things we're talking about are so heavy on their shoulders and on their back that if there's some piece that, um, yeah, if there's some piece that they can use a proven playbook, like, then my goodness, at least do that.
Yeah. I like that. And then that to me, that does correspond and lead into that bias for action that I'd like you to share some more of why is that a leaning of yours of I have a bias for action, or I think your exact words.
It's one of my core values is
Yeah.
to harness my bias to action. Um,
Harness your bias for action.
I know I'm
Yeah,
like, oh
we're
wait, I
gonna
think
dig
that's
into
my
that.
core
That's
value. I
fun.
need to
Yeah.
I need to like look into that one a little bit more. Well, if we're gonna dig into it, I can tell the origin
Yeah.
story in a minute with it. But it's the design thinking concept of fail fast and fail often, right? Like just get in there, go get some information, run an experiment, like see how it goes, and then make a different decision. I mean, one of the things that I emphasize with my teams at our kickoff session is every member that's in this leadership team, you're going to pick a metric and you're going to report on it every day.
Mm-hmm.
In your daily huddle, you're just going to say your number. And I don't even care what they say. I don't prep it with anything. We're putting up the quarterly priorities for each person on their post-its. And I've got a little block that says daily critical number. And that's actually my entire like pitch on it. And I just see what kind of things they put up there. And if they ask questions, I can answer it. But they just put something up there, and all I need them to do is say something every day in their daily huddle. And by the time we meet again at the second quarter or the first like actual real quarter, then they'll know. Then they'll know what they should report on each day that will actually be informative to everybody else and themselves. But like just something.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. It's I my phrase is always forward, which is
Hmm.
basically the same thing, right? Like I don't care. I'm not a historian. I've never enjoyed history. I don't care. Like here's where we are and here's where I want to go. Let's move forward. And that's suited me pretty good. And I think that the people who don't have that bias for action are struggle with that over analysis, right? They think everything has to be perfect before they go to the next step, and it's like I need enough information to be directionally correct, and then I can launch.
It's so funny that you use the word launch because as you said that one, I think about like SpaceX versus NASA, right? And
Yeah.
SpaceX is blowing up things all over the
Right.
place. Like, oh, whatever. And I'm a pretty conservative, like fiscally in some ways where I'm always like, oh my, that seems like, is that really the
Yeah.
only way you can figure out if it's going to explode or not? Um, but Elon leans in to fail fast and fail often. And then there he is, at least in that domain, creating some like pretty amazing results.
Yeah. Yeah. So, all right. So share your origin story of your harnessing your bias for action. That's what I love.
Yeah. So I wonder what story I wrote about on my website. So part of my website, I have my values and then like really like how or where in my life they came about. I believe my harness my bias to action story is I was sitting in the Nashville airport, headed back to college. So I was living in Texas and going to school in North Carolina, and I was connecting in Nashville. And I sit down and this woman, like, I don't know, other college kid next to me, and she starts talking to me about, oh, what are my plans for this summer? And I was like, oh, I don't know yet. Like, I definitely was one of those kids that left at 18 and never went home again.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I haven't like decided, it's Christmas break that I'm there. And she's like, oh, well, would you want to do the summer job where the average student or the average student makes like $10,000 a year? I was like, yes, I would. Yes, I would. I would like to do that. And she's like, okay, well, do you have any questions? Like, I don't. Like, I don't have any questions. Like, I mean, nowadays I'm like, oh my gosh, what would I've almost gotten myself into?
Uh-huh.
And I sold educational reference books door to door. And I did it in Missouri my first summer, and my second summer I did it over in Cincinnati, Ohio. And through the conversation, she was like, well, maybe I should give you more information. She was like, it's door to door sales. Like, okay. And she's like, okay, and you're gonna live in a town where you don't know anybody and you find your own housing. I'm like, okay.
Cool.
Like other kids do it. She's like, yeah, we have supports, we have all these people, you're with an org. I'm like, okay. And I will tell you, Mark, that was the catalyst for one, I have some sales skills in me, and a deep core belief that I can figure anything out from those summers selling books.
Yep.
I mean, I remember like, crashing my car and being like, well, I guess I got to get it pulled out somehow. And I mean, like, just thinking like, I guess I'll figure this out. Um, Working with those, like my peer groups was how I decided to transfer to University of Virginia, which I didn't even know was the school that it was. Um, there just were like, it got the ball rolling
Yeah.
because I was like, okay, like, yes, I need to solve something for this summer. That sounds like a solution. You seem like a credible person. Oh, I know the other detail, Mark. A few minutes into our conversation, a guy that I went to high school with came and like it had done it in his summers as well. And it was enough. Like, I was like, all right, this is real. Like, off I go. And that was the beginning.
That's awesome.
It is one of those, I'm saying that I'm like telling the story now, like 2+ decades later. And if my child came home and was like, Mom, I have an idea, I'm like, you can go pound sand before
Right.
you think that's what you're doing this summer. Right. So
But
if any student comes and knocks on any listener's door, please just offer them water and a bathroom break. That is my only request because it is a hard job.
there you go. That's yes, I like that. No, that's cool. I mean, what a cool foundational piece, right? And I talk a lot about self-awareness, the importance of self-awareness, and your self-awareness and understanding who you are changes over time based on your experiences, right? If you would have never been on that flight, you would have never had that exposure. If you would have never, whatever, been open to selling books in Missouri and Cincinnati and whatever, you would have never had these experiences to understand what you like, what you don't like, who you want to be around, who you don't want to be around, that type of stuff. And that those things are so formative and transformative in people's lives to understand who they are, that all leads into allowing yourself to be a vulnerable leader, to have a bias for action, to, do all the things that you've already talked about today, that it's just that openness to try new stuff is almost a lost art anymore.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of pressure to, you know, to be right. I've in my own like self development journey have been working on a mindset shift of instead of right and wrong decisions, high and low choices. And some days I want to make a low choice and
Yeah.
have a glass of wine at 5 p.m. while I'm just starting to cook dinner, and and eyes wide open, deciding to accept the consequences that come with low choices. It's
Yeah.
not going to be a productive evening.
Right.
um so just that mindset shift and yeah.
Yeah. That's cool. This has been awesome. All right. One last question. If you were to think back, now I'm scared to ask this. If you were to think back to 21-year-old April, what's one thing that you wish she knew that you've learned over these years?
Yeah. I just had a former high school student interview me yesterday, and Mark, she asked me a very similar question. She was 21, about to graduate. Um, yeah, my answer to her, which is my answer to you, is the perspective that I have gained in these 20 plus years has been so interesting. It really does tie into everything. You just don't have to be perfect.
Mhm.
Like it's that trust in myself, like a deep trust in myself and my ways of being that are developing and that are improving and that I'm figuring out, but like a trust that it doesn't have to be perfect out of the gates, and mistakes or wrong avenues or wrong paths, um and it just works out. And I don't like that. It doesn't just work out. It
Yeah.
will work out because of the other actions that I am doing. And even if, the positive assumptions about people and giving blessings and having gratitude, and thinking about high and low choices, that if I just keep doing the stuff that my moral compass
Mhm.
directs me to, like whatever I want will come.
That's awesome. That's really cool. I like that. Yeah, I'll just figure it out. I'll figure it out. I got it. Cool. This has been amazing. April, thank you so much. Would you
Yeah.
do me a favor? Share with our audience what a typical engagement with you looks like and how can they get a hold of you?
Sure. So a typical engagement is I work with the CEO and their leadership team. And I mean, my shingle is that I am a metronomics operating system implementer. So a lot of people are super familiar with EOS. And so it is a competitor,
Hmm.
comparable. I mean, I think it is better and different, right? It's the reason I went that way and not that way.
Yep.
Um, but that is at the base of what I do. I mean, I think that my main differentiator is I have pretty decent laser vision of what's maybe really being said or going on that isn't out there, and can help guide CEOs. So an engagement with me looks like I will facilitate and run your quarterlies and your annuals. And then the coach and I have biweekly coaching sessions, just kind of getting their team focused and moving in the right direction, both from a human perspective and execution and strategy, and like just making sure all those systems are running together.
Love it. How do they get a hold of you?
Yeah. So my website is the-grit-group.com, or you can find me on LinkedIn, April Bain. Those are the
Amazing.
easiest.
Thank you for hanging out. I appreciate you.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks.
Awesome. All right, y'all. We did it again. We found another amazing leader to share some wisdom with us on your way to the CEO seat. As we wrap up, I want to remind you that Igniting the CEO Within is sponsored by Quade, a nationwide community of CEOs and entrepreneurs. Quade has created Launchpad, which provides an opportunity for experienced executive coaches to become licensed circle directors and significantly impact the lives of CEOs and entrepreneurs. To find out more, visit quadecircle.com. Until next time, keep igniting that CEO within you. I'm Mark McFatridge. Thanks for listening.